A podcast? Did your radio show get canceled?
Fire. Low down and filthy, but the discipline is on point. Schooled myself, made my own dojo. A cold flow with the whole dose of soul. Maintain composure, even in theory. An anomaly, properties undiscernible to mere peasants. Use weapons that level.
All right, this week on the $1 Million Plan, we talked to Kendall. Kendall and I are going to talk about what's going on in her life right now, why she's not working, her desire for a pretty interesting car, and the care and the need for her daughter. So that's what we're dealing with this week. Kendall joins me now. Hello, Kendall.
Hi, Pete.
How are you?
I'm good.
Shouldn't we disclose that as we were doing a sound test before we went on the air, your levels were up too high, which in the biz we say is too hot. And so I said, I think Kendall is too hot. And then we had an uncomfortable moment. Do you remember that?
I do, yes.
That was really uncomfortable. And for the sake of, for all listeners out there, there's no such thing as too hot. Kendall, what are we doing for you today?
I'm just trying to see how well we're doing. We've had a little bit of complication with a child with autism in our financial planning, so we wanted to see how well we're doing so far.
All right. Well, let's learn about you. How old are you? 37 or something, right?
37, yeah.
37. Yeah, you got a significant other?
Yes.
And you make a household income of $85,000 gross, monthly take home of about $4,500. You got $33,000 in long-term savings, $420 a month going towards long-term savings, and then you got $58,700 in checking and savings. Kendall, what? Huh?
Yeah, between a savings account and a checking account that I have, and then a combined savings account, and then his checking account.
How does that even happen? Like what? What? I don't understand. Like, how did it get that high in relation to everything else going on?
We've just kind of always been savers, and it was even higher than that before. We put down, for the house that we're currently in, we put down 45%.
Okay.
We paid about $90,000 down payment.
So your situation is you're a one-income household right now?
Yeah, currently.
And
I'm working part-time as an independent contractor at home.
I always think that you do drywall when someone says they're an independent you're not a drywaller, no?
No, I'm a search engine evaluator right now.
Oh, my gosh. I use Dogpile and Ask Jeeves. Okay, so at one point in time, were you working full-time?
I was working part-time when our twins were born. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. I was working 3 days a week.
Okay, so what do you think your top household income has been in the last... Well, first of all, how old are your twins?
They'll be 8 next week.
And are those your only children?
Yes.
Okay, and so what was the most your household's ever made in the last 10 years or so?
I'd say probably close to where we are now.
Okay.
He had some previous jobs and, a couple years of no pay raises, and the current job that he's in, he just got it in July of last year and had a bigger bump in pay. Okay.
By any chance, I know this is a really shot in the dark here, did you happen to see my blog post series in the last couple of weeks about how to craft a life on $80,000?
Yes, I did.
I'm wondering, now, in the light of the conversation we're in the midst of having, how relatable was that to you, or what is different about your life compared to that?
There were some other, I think, some of it was relatable. There's some things that are different. We're paying probably more on our mortgage than probably what's estimated, but we plan to pay it off in 15 years instead of 30.
Okay.
We don't have car payments, but our grocery bill is probably definitely higher due to my daughter's special diet and things like that. So, some of it was relatable. You switch the numbers around here and there and move some things over.
Okay. I like that I just assume that you stalk my website. That was a dangerous...
Well, I have to be on the show.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. Let's do this. Let's work backwards. We got a lot to deal with, but I want to work backwards because for me, we always say, is there a short-term problem, a mid-term problem, or a long-term problem? Let's look at the long-term and go from there. So at your current pace, your $1 million day is right now April 29th of 2047.
Okay.
April 29th of 2047. I'm pretty sure I will have a great deal of hair loss at that time. At age 67, you'll have $986,830. Your monthly income will be $2,300 a month, which will feel like $1,097 a month because of inflation.
Okay.
So here's the very simple question. Do you feel like, based on those numbers, that your long-term financial life is secure and where you want it to be?
Not entirely. But his work has a pension plan.
Okay.
But we do not know the aspects of the pension plan yet to really be able to factor that into what we anticipate on having.
Okay, that's exciting. Let's talk about that. How long has he worked there?
He's only worked there since last July.
Okay, last July. And they still have a pension plan, and it's still active?
They do. They're a utility company.
Oh! Yeah, for those listening at home, utility companies typically have pension plans. Sometimes they're frozen, sometimes they aren't. Do you happen to know does he use the 401k?
Yes.
And do you happen to know the match on that?
Yeah, they match 50% up to the first 6%.
Okay. Now, are you putting your money, jumping around here a little bit, from what I understand, are you putting your money on a monthly basis into a Roth as opposed to the 401k, or is it going into the 401k?
He's putting from his paycheck into his 401k. I started a Roth when I started doing the part-time work, just so I could be saving something and feel like I'm saving something.
Okay. And then, so how old's your husband?
He is 36.
Okay, so here I'm going to just tell you what I think, right? I mean, that's why you're here, right? Hopefully,
yes.
maybe to get an opinion or two. At 36, going into a pension, I guess at 35, I guess we'll go with. I don't feel really confident that a pension is worth hanging your hat on right now. Okay, so it's an interesting factor, and I hope the heck I'm wrong, and I hope that you send me a card that says you're wrong, dummy. Right? Would you do that? You're wrong, dummy.
I would.
Good. I hope you would. But let's not count on that. So what we know is the assets that will be around for retirement for you don't feel adequate at the current pace. You're going to have Social Security income, hopefully, and maybe a pension. So far, we've only dealt with the long term, and I don't feel amazing about that. I feel okay. I feel okay. Let's shoot all the way back to the short term. In the event of an emergency right now, a couple month emergency, at $58,000 in checking and savings, Kendall, I think you're okay.
Okay.
Now, are you still a good saver, or you were a good saver as a family?
We're still a good saver for the most part. We do occasionally maybe buy a few things like that we don't need on Amazon. But for the most part, I mean, he's driving a 2002 vehicle. Mine's a 2009 that I paid cash for.
Right.
We don't really go on vacations. I mean, he eats out each week at work, but, we don't really go out to eat very often as a family or anything.
Do you feel like the insistence on saving as opposed to investing really is because of the needs of your daughter?
Yeah, for the most part in the beginning, it definitely was. He wasn't getting much of a match. She was in therapy. We were doing the ABA therapy 40 hours a week. And there were some years where the company decided to renew early to bypass some new changes in the insurance. So we had to pay double deductible. I think for a couple of years we had to pay double deductible for her to go. And this has really been our first year where she has been done with that, and she is now in the school system. Okay.
And so how do you think over the next few years your expenses will go with her? I mean, is there a point in time where your expenses completely subside, or will there always be some degree of expense?
Right now, it seems like there will probably be always some degree. We're, hoping for the best, but planning for the worst. And so right now we anticipate, her needing to live with us for the rest of her life.
Okay.
Whether, she is able to hold some employment, if, even part-time or whatnot, we'll see. But we're anticipating of her needing to live here. Okay.
Well, I think in that regard, then, when we're getting to the middle part of your life, how you doing in the midterm? This is the nature. This conversation is the nature of what it is to be a family in a special needs situation. I mean,
yes.
if my listeners or viewers are hearing and experiencing this for the first time, welcome to reality, because this is real, and it's more common than you think, and it offers some interesting midterm challenges, because while it sounds like one of your twins, potentially there are college plans, are we looking for college plans for both of the twins?
It would be great if my one daughter could go to college, and we have a 529 plan for them both. Her sister does have some delays, but she is in a regular classroom getting some services and stuff. So, I definitely see, college or whatever, she wants to do in her future. But I've kept the 529 plan going. I've, wanted to switch to an ABLE account for my daughter with autism, but our state hasn't got that going yet for us.
Yeah, so an ABLE account are relatively new investment vehicles, and they're for families with special needs children. And they have a little bit more flexibility, they help you at sort of every step of the way. Have you explored, and I don't know the answer to this, have you explored getting into a 529 in a different state that has the ABLE plans?
I thought about it, and then I was debating whether I should wait or not because of any tax credits from the state of having one in our state, and I keep hearing it's coming, but so far it hasn't shown up yet as one to be able to start.
So do you have any, have you heard from what I'm doing, I'm playing, you can't see this because you're not seeing me on camera here. I'm texting the director of the Indiana 529 plan, because I think you're in Indiana, if I'm correct. You're in Indiana?
Yes.
Okay, I'm texting him right now, and I want to see if by the time we're done, if ABLE accounts are on the way. Okay? How's this for
great.
service? So sorry, I got a text, and I got to put some Bitmojis in this, so it's going to take me a second. I got to represent. All right. Any chance the 529 ABLE account are on the way? This is good TV. People watching this on PeteThePlanner.tv are really enthralled right now. All right, so I texted him. We'll see what happens. Okay, so.
Okay, great.
Short term's good, midterm's just kind of cloudy, and long term's okay. So where do we go from here? I think at some point in time we've got to get you from being a good saver and turn you into a good investor. I'm not convinced you're being the most efficient with your income. You're doing a great job. I mean, you're not spending it. But I think in order to grow it and serve your family at every step of the way, we need to make sure that it's getting some growth to it. Are you risk averse? Do you not like risk?
I'm kind of, I guess, moderate. But I think the thing I keep running to is, when we try to invest in something, it just doesn't seem to ever make much.
Okay.
He'll, put something in his 401k and he'll divide it up however, and then it's kind of just stagnant, or maybe makes like 3%, 4% if we're lucky. Just never seems to kind of go anywhere. So
here's a fun question. Does he know what he's doing?
He definitely knows more than I do.
What does that mean?
I try. I mean, he's taken more time to kind of look into it. He likes looking into stocks and things like that. He doesn't do it a ton, but he used to like to do it in school, where they had the practice where you buy some stocks and and he would win those things in school and stuff. But I've tried it, and I look and I try to pick something, and it's like, okay, well, now it's down like 21% for the year.
Well, see, I view this like, okay, so I cook at our house, especially in the weekends. I used to cook all the time before we had kids. But nowadays, it just my wife handles a lot of those duties during the week. But on the weekends, I like to cook. And one of my favorite things to make is like short ribs. You just braise them for hours and hours and hours. And my recipe for short ribs, I kind of think I know what I'm doing. I'm braising short ribs for 3 hours. But I went to my friend's restaurant the other day and had short ribs, and his short ribs were good, and mine weren't. And then I say to myself, you can't have success with short ribs until you taste his short ribs. And then I'm like, wait a second, maybe I don't know how to make short ribs. I think it's very possible that this could be the situation, because the reality is, if you know what you're doing in investing over a period of time, if you're getting what the market gets, it's a heck of a lot better than a savings account. And that's what you should be going for. I think part of the issue could be making sure you're not overconfident, or he's not overconfident in his ability to pick investments so you can get that growth. So does that make sense? Does my short rib analogy fall short, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. I don't you love being mansplained investing? Wait, did you see much not too long ago? It was International Women's Day or Women's Day. Were you aware of this?
Yeah, I did hear about it.
I didn't really do anything for it. Here's what International Women's Day turned into for me. It turned into a bunch of dudes mansplaining International Women's Day on Twitter. That's what it was to me. Like, it's just like, I'm all for it or I'm all against it. I don't know. Sure, I'm supportive. I don't know. I feel like sometimes everyone weighs in on everything, and you don't really have to,
Yeah.
So that got uncomfortable. All right. So what else? If you're able to convert those 529 plans to the ABLE account, that would be very good and very helpful for you. I do really feel like the crux of your issue becomes making sure that you become an investor over a saver. Did I hear you wanted to buy a ridiculously expensive car? Am I hearing this correctly? What's happening?
My husband does. Well, he wants to buy the more affordable version of the Tesla.
Okay, what's that?
That will come out, the $35,000 Model 3, I guess, whatever one that one is.
Is this a desire? Is this being justified in some way? Like, why does this seem like a good idea?
He's always been into kind of like energy conservation savings. We always did the compact fluorescent light bulbs before other people started doing them, and the LED bulbs, and he has a longer commute now than what he used to. It used to be like 15 minutes and each way, and now it's about 45 to an hour each way each day. So he was looking at gas savings too, and he knows his car might bite the dust here in a couple of years because it's getting up there in age.
Now, there's a couple ways to think about this. Number one, conceivably, you could get a horse. You know what I mean? Like, he could ride a horse. Number two is, on the surface, $35,000 car and an $85,000 income, that doesn't sound great. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then what you are dealing with is you're eliminating the fuel costs, right? And I don't know, and actually you don't know, and he doesn't know. We don't know. No one knows the longevity of Teslas at this point, right? Yeah. We don't know if they're 10-year cars. There's no reason to think they aren't, but there's also no reason to think they are. Yeah. Right? So I don't know. I'm not wild and crazy about that idea, but I get it. I think that would be tough to do with your retirement situation the way it is, and tough to do with the fogginess of the midterm. Now, I do love your short term. Would you wouldn't buy it with cash, would you?
He would. He's hoping to save up enough to pay cash or to have a small loan.
Interesting. Okay, so would some of that $58,000 go that way, or are we talking new savings?
No, that would go that way. That's what he's currently saving towards. So his bonus, can range from 5 to 10% each year, and so he figures I'll just put that in the savings, and then after he has enough for the car, then the extra will always go toward the mortgage. Will he listen or watch our time together here today? He will. I'll probably have to make him listen.
Okay. Well, let's not make that decision yet, because I want to ask you a question. Okay. Do you support this desire to get a Tesla?
I like the idea of an electric car. Okay. I don't know if I love the idea of the Tesla per se, but it is kind of his dream car, I guess.
Sure. So recently, a company came to me and said, Pete, we would like you to get a hair plugs. Like, and I'm not kidding. This is like not a joke. It's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. It is very funny. But they're like, we would like to give you hair plugs. And that way you don't look bald. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for the offer. And then, Pete, we want you to endorse the idea on the radio. So it turns out like hair plugs are like $20,000 to $25,000, right?
Oh,
so
wow.
is it conceivable that I would like a better hairline? Yeah. I mean, dare I say it's a dream? Maybe. But then the issue becomes twofold. Number one, spending $25,000 on something that seems pretty self-indulgent, if you know where I'm going with that. And then the other idea is then telling other people to spend $25,000 on something so self-indulgent. So I don't know. I guess where I would go with this, and it's why I ask of whether you support the idea, I'm just thinking aloud here. I wonder, and I'm going to have to ask her when I get home tonight, I wonder if Mrs. Planner, if I have any ideas in which she supports out of love, I guess, or like, it seems like a good idea. I support it, but maybe it's not a great idea. I'm just curious. Do you have ideas like that maybe he's like, yeah, I support that mainly so I can get the Tesla, but I support your idea. Do you have ideas like that?
Not really. I don't have, big things that I like to buy or stuff. I just mostly like to do things for the house. So I have ideas for down the road of like upgrading the carpet and upgrading the countertops, things like that.
Well, I just got a text, I think, coming into my pocket from the 529 director. Let's take a look. Possibly. How about that? How about that? Well, that's pretty much what you said, right?
Yes.
Go figure. What other questions can I answer for you?
I guess, is there... he has two former 401ks from two of his previous jobs.
They're 802s
he hasn't
now.
really done anything with. And I keep trying to get him to do something with them instead of just letting them sit there. They don't have that much money in them. What would be the best thing to do with those to kind of, help, be able to actively work on those to increase our retirement savings?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. Number one, a lot of times you hear people say, always roll over a 401k when you leave a job. I disagree with that because sometimes they're pretty low expenses and they could be good performers. Whether his are or not, I don't know. I mean, they could be. I think the bigger issue would be to get a more consistent investment strategy across the board, as we talked about a little bit earlier.
Okay.
It sounds like that's really important. If he has a 401k advisor through his workplace, through the utility company, I highly recommend your husband get some time with that person. It's free, right? And that person will get you guys set on the right path and may recommend that you roll the 401ks into the new plan. I don't know. Again, the investment industry is always like, roll over your 401ks, but it's because they want to manage the money and make money off the money. Like, I don't think it always makes that much sense. I have a good friend. He's an attorney, actually lives in my neighborhood. And he has an amazing 401k from an old law firm he used to work out in Washington, D.C., and it's possibly the greatest 401k I've ever seen in my entire life. And he will never move the money from it because it is so inexpensive and performing so well that it's like when you hear things like, we always roll over a 401k, that guy looks at it and goes, well, no, because I can't get this better than this. And so that's certainly worth noting. Now, with two 8-year-old twins, and your family situation, what's the life insurance situation at your household?
He did not want to go for as much as I wanted him to go for. So when they were born, we took out $250,000 each. On
$251,000 on him and $250,000 on you.
Yes, for a 20-year term.
And so you have 12 years left.
Yes.
And when you say he didn't want to go for as much, what does that mean?
He didn't think it really needed to be any higher than that at the time because he was like, well, if I die, then you'll work. But, then along comes a child with autism. So it's like, well, maybe not.
So does he have benefits through work?
I think he has like a 1-year salary death benefit. Yeah.
And then do you guys have will and trust documentation as in terms of like who takes care of your daughter and if something happens to you?
We do not.
Okay.
We, at this time, don't have anyone that would take care of her.
So what would, like, let's go through this. This is, oh, by the way, this is the not fun exercise part of the program.
Yes.
So sorry, we got to do it anyway. What?
Oh, that's okay.
What?
I've done it in my own head. I don't know how many times.
Well, good. Well, you can share with a bunch of strangers. So what happens? Like, you guys are out ice fishing. A polar bear eats your husband, and a seal turns the table on you and clubs you to death. Like, what? Not Seal the singer, an actual seal. Like, what happens? Like, what happens?
Yeah, we honestly don't know. His parents financially would be able to take care of them.
Okay.
But they have refused to kind of learn about autism.
Sure.
Or anything like that. And then I have a brother who does understand all that. Financially, he would not be in any kind of position to take care of them.
Okay, so let me put a
So if we could mix the two together.
You can. You know what? Let's talk about this. There's a fix here, Kendall. Like, they're legit, relatively easy fix. In your will, you can say who takes care of the children physically and who takes care of the money, which takes care of the children. Okay. So what you could conceivably do is leave the children to be dealt with by your brother. But then if you either A, don't think the finances are best in his hands, well, no judgment here, or then maybe put in your husband's parents' hands. But I'll say in my own situation, for logistics and otherwise, in my family, we have our kids going to one set of people and the money for the kids going to a different set of people so that both skills and qualities can be used in that situation. And that's something that can be very easily be spelled out in the proper will, And I think you should do that. I mean, I got to be honest here, between the life insurance stuff and the will, like I'm getting a little nervous. I don't know if it's because it's late in the day, but I'm feeling a little nervous. That's an important conversation.
Yeah, well, and the other part is that he isn't really in a position to take care of himself either. He still lives with my parents. He has severe depression.
Okay. So
there's
got to be somebody, right? I mean, maybe part of the plan is finding who that person is. I mean, and look, this next question, it's a question of ignorance because I don't know anything about this. Is there a situation in which there are and even like places that do, like an actual like business or organization or care facility that do this in this sort of event, or am I just making up an organization that does not exist?
I'm not sure, actually.
I mean, I ask ignorant questions quite often, Kendall, but that one felt the most ignorant because I know nothing about that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either. No one I know in the special needs community has ever said anything about that, or they have that set up for their children or anything.
Do you think, okay, so you are now representative of the entire special needs family community for this show. Sorry about that. In the folks that you talk with, and I know the autism community is very close-knit. I mean, I know that. I mean, talk about me being ignorant. I'm not ignorant about that. Do you feel like a lot of families are in your scenario in which they don't have the proper amount of life insurance, and they don't have the proper final wishes planning, if you will, out of various different reasons, but one of them being we don't have someone we think we can turn to take care of our child?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've kind of heard that a lot. There's usually problems with the in-laws on either side. Every time they go visit, they're just like, well, your kid's like this because of this, and so they just kind of stop seeing that side of the family, and then maybe the other side of the family isn't, in the best of health or whatnot. Sure. Now,
unless you have other questions, I want to wrap, but and by wrap I mean wrap up, not spit verses for you.
Oh man,
I know, who wouldn't want that? Actually, funny story, maybe to some people. My high school senior year at a pep rally for the football team. I was the captain, which is irrelevant other than to the story. I thought it was a good idea with my other co-captains, to rap in front of the student body. I'm cringing just thinking about it right now. And it was the most voluntary, stupid thing I've ever done. And I'm cringing. And there's a picture in my yearbook of me doing it. And I hope that all of those yearbooks are burnt. And if anyone listening today, because I know I have some friends from my past that watch and listen to this show, do not produce those photos. Do not bring them to the forefront. But back to you, Kendall. Enough about me embarrassing myself as an 18-year-old with curly red hair. I'm concerned that you and your husband need to have an uncomfortable conversation this weekend. You guys have got to figure out this life insurance thing and the will thing, because we don't have a plan is not a plan.
Yeah.
Right? And that just I don't know. I couldn't sleep. I'm not judging, but I couldn't sleep.
Yeah. Oh, no. And I'm a planner, too, so it bugs me.
Yeah, your situation's unique. You're savers, not investors. You live within your means. Mm-hmm. You're planners, but you don't have a plan. It's sort of like it's a weird mix. So please fix that, because I feel like I'm on the verge of now not sleeping because of this. Anything else?
No, I think that's just about it. Would you recommend kind of just bumping up what he's contributing to his 401k? Because I know he just went up to the point of the match.
Well, yeah. So it's here's a 3-step process for you. Number 1, he needs to meet with this person because he needs a better investment strategy. Number 2, he's got to probably increase it. And that would be number 3. Number 2 would be figure out the final plan, right? Figure out life insurance and a will. I mean, I'm trying to be as transparent and honest as I can here. I'm thinking about my will, where it's at. It has not been updated since my son was born, but the way I've read the will, and I've read it recently, it still applies to any extra children after my daughter. So I'm going to revisit my will this week, and I hope that you commit to maybe getting involved with one for you. And it's not a money thing. Hell, you got $58,000 sitting in the bank. So let's make sure that you take care of that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. I want updates. Email me that you've done this stuff. And if you don't email me, I'll just assume, like everyone else, you've ignored my advice. So, Kendall, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's it this week on the Pete the Planner $1 Million Plan show podcast circus thing. These are a tough one. There's some things going on there. I got to have more life insurance. The will's important. Bad experiences with the stock market doesn't mean the market stinks. It means maybe that your investing isn't great. And then the Tesla thing, and we got some hard decisions to make. And I hope they do it for those 2 sweet little girls. So one other note. The special needs community is a very big community. And there's a lot of challenges that come with having a special needs person with special needs in your family. And so if that is you, seek professional financial help on that. There are financial advisors out there that specialize in families with special needs. I'm going to try to link that up on the blog for this episode. So check out PeteThePlanner.com, and we will reference some of those special needs organizations that help with financial planning. Make sure that you have the right type of will, the right type of life insurance. It's important. So that's it this week. I'm Pete the Planner. I'll see you next time.
If you want to be on this podcast and have Pete fix your money life, then hit us up at PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. You heard me. PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. Log on.
This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
Released from Everest, the fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason.
Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings. Salutations, how you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with ease, creating a breeze they call a black hole. Event horizon, no rear view concerns. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. Salutations, I bring you love-tron greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love-tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings. Salutations, how you doing? And is that how y'all say it?